If you clicked on this video, that means you've decided that the VStar lineup of motorcycles is for you. It's your calling. You're here to find out which one's going to be your best bang for your buck. Today I have the VStar 650, 1100, the newer 950 and the newer 1300. I don't have the 250. I really only wanted to compare everything that could really handle freeway speeds. The 250 couldn't handle freeway speeds, so I'm not really doing a comparison on it. So we have the VStar 650, we have the VStar 1100. Both of these are carbureted. They're a little older generation, and then they came out with the 950 and the 1300. These are fuel injected. So we're not going to waste a whole lot of time with boring you about details. You've probably done your research. I'm just going to get into how they ride and how they feel and which one I think would be best for what your application is. Starting off with the VStar 650, as you get on it, really light bike, nice wide handlebars, really close, comfortable seating position, right? Tank's really skinny, so for a beginner, I mean, this thing is so light, you know, you can lay it over this way and that way. It's not really a hard thing to get it up off the kickstand. Plenty of handlebar to be able to maneuver it around. Here in a bit, we're going to be doing a tight turn test to see how easy they are to go through the tight turns. I actually find this one a little harder on the tight turns because it's almost too small for me. So as I'm going, see how it locks my knee in place? So if I'm going to tip over, I can't get my leg out. I end up making my tight turns with my leg out like this, which I find a little more difficult. We'll move on to this 1100. Really solid bike, a little heavier to pick up and not bad. It actually feels a little shorter than those newer bikes. The newer bikes are a little more stretched out. You'll notice when you're sitting on them, the handlebars really swoop back to you. This one sits up a little straighter. You still a really nice seating position, but as you can see, when I go full lock, I can still get my knee out. That really helps a lot when I'm doing those tight turns. For say, trying to pass the motorcycle endorsement test. I can go lock to lock on both sides and still be able to get my knees out. Next up, we have the VStar 950. This, I think, was supposed to replace the 650, but it's actually a lot more comparable to the 1100. Again, there you can see it's a little more swooped back. Same thing, when I'm full lock, I can get my knee out. Really important when I'm trying to do those slow maneuvers. Next up, we got the big boss. We got the VStar 1300. This big bike, really comfortable, wide seating position. Plenty of room to get your leg. I think the handlebars, I have this rolled back to make it a little more comfortable. In the stock setting, they were actually up a little bit, so I could get my knee out. So I do actually move this one with my knee out. But this is a long, heavy, big motorcycle. Plenty of power to do everything you're doing. It's really high geared, long gears. This thing will go almost 50 miles an hour in first gear. Those other ones won't even touch it. Real easy to pick up though, still pretty light. As far as weight goes, the 1300 and the 950 and the 1100 all feel pretty similar with it getting a little bit lighter. And then when you jump down to the 650, it's really light to pick up and move back and forth. So if you're looking for something small and comfortable, this is a fantastic motorcycle. Now, as far as power and speed goes, the 650 really only likes to cruise at like 70, 75. That's about as much as it wants to push. It'll go faster, but it's really comfortable at that range. The 1100, it'll handle 80 all day long, just fine at 80 miles an hour. Same with the 950. These two motorcycles are very comparable. This one's fuel injected, the 1100 is carbureted, so for reliability purposes and having it sit over the winter, this is a much better bike. But the 1100 is quite a bit cheaper, so if you're looking for a still powerful enough motorcycle that's in your budget, that 1100 is still a good bang for your buck. When you jump up to the 1300, it's got a little more horsepower, a little more gear. It'll handle 100 plus miles an hour just cruising for a long period of time. This is a more advanced motorcycle. You can still handle it as a beginner, but it's gonna be a lot harder to pass like your endorsement test and do tight maneuvers and different things. So when you're gonna pass your motorcycle endorsement test, you really wanna be over a 650 or bigger motorcycle, because if you pass on anything under that, you can only ride up to that CC. 650 and above, you're allowed to ride any CC. So if you pass the test on this 650, you can ride any of these bikes. You could very easily jump from this 650, get comfortable driving around on their neighborhood roads and your small highways and stuff. You could jump up to that 1300 and be really comfortable. Okay, now we're gonna roll into the slow maneuver, basically just through a parking lot as tight as I can go, back and forth a couple times. That's gonna just tell you how comfortable the bike is to maneuver. So you'll see as I go through these motions, I'm giving a little bit of throttle and I'm riding the rear brake to do the slow maneuver. So when I come this way, I have to move my knee out. It makes it really hard to use that rear brake. But anyways, let's get into it. I'll show you these slow maneuvers and then we'll keep going.
So as you can see, as I'm pulling into this tight turn area, this bike's pretty easy to maneuver. Watch me go through right here. See, and the only reason it would do it sharper, the only reason I can't do it sharper than that is just because of these handlebars. But it's very light and easy to maneuver back and forth. So it would be really easy to take the endorsement test on this one.
So you can see that just because of those handlebars, it makes it a little more difficult to maneuver. But again, I'm 5'10". If you were a shorter rider where your knees weren't in the way, this is a perfect motorcycle. Plenty of power to do highway speeds, but still small enough that you can maneuver it really easy. I mean, I can move this whole thing just with my legs. All right, that was the 650. Now we're gonna go to the 1100.
So with this 1100, it's quite a bit easier with the handlebars being up high like they are, and it's got, and you know, it's fitted to my body a little better, so I can actually do this test a little easier on this bike than I can on the smaller bike, but it does weigh just a little bit more, so you have to be a little more careful. If it were to tip over, it's more weight for me to try and catch.
All right, that was the 1100. Now we're gonna go to the 950.
So with this one, you can see really smooth throttle control, really easy to do a tight turn where I can modulate the throttle, the brake, and the clutch really easy because there's no carburetor, so everything about the engine is smoother. It makes this part a lot easier.
That was the 950. Now on to the 1300.
Now this is the big dog. I had been practicing before on this, so doing this is a little easier for me, but when I first jumped on it, it is a bigger motorcycle to try and do this with. Yes, it's still possible, but for a new person, this might be a little bit too big to try and do the slow, tight maneuvers to be able to pass your endorsement.
Let's go for a ride. All right, so we're gonna start out on the VStar 650 for this little ride test that we're doing. Now this 650 is a fantastic learning bike. I mean, you have really wide handlebars. You can wiggle it around, you can flick it all over the road, wherever you need to go. Still plenty of power to get you down the road. In just a minute, we'll jump on the highway and we'll see how good it handles, you know, 65, 70 miles an hour. Really just a comfortable bike all around. It has some loud pipes on it right now, but with some stock pipes to get it a little quieter, it would be a fantastic first bike. You could commute on this thing. You could jump on the highway and run down the road if you need to. I don't know if I would necessarily jump on it and go for a far ride. You know, it's not really big enough for that. But anything around town, you can jump on the freeway for 15, 20 minutes with little to no words. But as far as getting started on a beginner bike, I mean, it's pretty hard to beat this VStar 650. It's carbureted, so it's a little older generation. As long as it's been taken care of, the carburetors are not going to be an issue. And so you can get on a bike like this for really cheap and learn how to ride and get some seat time under you to get really comfortable riding a motorcycle, and then you can upgrade to one of those bigger bikes like maybe the 950 or the 1300. So we'll give it a little pull and see what she's got. So that was just a little pull. I mean, it's really loud, but as far as rideability, it's really good.
as you can see, we're cruising at 75 right now, and I mean, this is a very comfortable bike. You could sit, it's a little louder, there's a little more vibration in the handlebars, but it's mostly louder because of the exhaust. If it had a stock exhaust on it, I really don't think you'd hear it that much, but you would definitely feel it. But again, you can get on and do 75 miles an hour, really comfortable. And even if you want, I mean, you still have room to accelerate and pass someone if you needed to. And as you can see, it's still a very comfortable riding position. I mean, there is nothing that's uncomfortable, even though it's a smaller bike, very, very comfortable. As you can see, even though it's a little smaller of a bike, it still handles the freeway speeds really good. I mean, we're going 75, 80 miles an hour, and it just cruises. And it can go more. Like, it has more power to give. But I want to jump on this bike and go from Salt Lake to St. George? Probably not. That would be a little much for it. It's still 100% doable, but I would be more comfortable on one of the bigger bikes, like the 1100 or the 1300, something that can handle something, you know, geared a little bit higher, a little more power, so it's not running the RPM so high to be able to do those freeway speeds. Ah, there's a cone in the road! And if you want to talk about flickability, which is really a sport bike term and not a cruiser bike term, I mean, this bike is so light, very, very flickable. You know, you can weave through the lanes, you can scrape peg, I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's a very comfortable bike. Alright, well, that was the 650. We'll see you guys on the 1100. Alright, so now we've got on the 1100. Hold on, I forgot to turn my gas back on. Always remember to turn your gas back on, folks. So for an old carbureted bike, this bike actually does pretty good. It cruises along. Right now we're going, 35 miles an hour on this smooth road, about third gear. It's a really smooth bike for an old carbureted bike. This is going to handle the freeway a little better. This is going to handle long trips a little bit better. Having just a few more cc's really helps in the horsepower category, but as well as lowering your RPMs at those highway speeds. Yes, it still only has 5 gears, but it doesn't feel quite as buzzy at the freeway speeds, which we'll show you here in just a minute. One nice thing about the 650 and the 1100 over the newer bikes is these are shaft drive. I mean, these are an almost maintenance-free, at least replacement-free. All you have to do is change oil every once in a while, versus the other bikes, that belt can wear out, and then you have to replace the belt, and the belt's about $500 to get a new one, and it's not the easiest thing to do. So as far as maintenance goes, yes, these have a carburetor, but as long as they've been taken care of, they can be less maintenance than those newer bikes, simply because they're shaft drive instead of belt drive. And I gotta say, the exhaust pipes on this bike sound so good. So as you can see, now we're cruising at 75. This 1100 handles it way better than that 650 does. Everything feels more comfortable. The handlebars aren't vibrating. It's a really comfortable bike to get on and go freeway speeds. If you're needing to do that for a long time, which around here you kind of take freeway to get to any of the fun canyons, so you want a bike that can handle some freeway. So when the newer bikes came out, they came out with the 950 and the 1300. The 1300 was kind of to replace the 1100, and the 950 was to replace the 650. But in reality, that 950 is more comparable to this 1100, even though it's 150 cc's smaller. Because it's fuel injected, it has better power and better fuel economy just simply because of the injection instead of carburation. On a fuel injected bike, because it's not carbureted, you don't have a fuel shut off. You don't ever have to worry about jumping on your bike, running on the freeway, and then realizing that you forgot to turn your gas back on, because it doesn't even have the option. Always remember to turn your gas back on, folks. Now this one, being as light as it is actually very comfortable to weave in and out of the lanes. Alright, well, that was the 1100. We'll see you guys on the 950. Oh, you left the key on. You can't leave the key on in this, like, at all, or it dies. Alright, go for it. Ready, go. You're not on. Okay, go again. Goodness sakes, child. Ready, go. Go, 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 go. All right, turn around. Come pick me up. All right. Now we're getting on the VStar 950, which a lot of people say is actually comparable to the VStar 1100. It was supposed to kind of replace the VStar 650, but it's more comparable to the 1100 because it's a little bigger, a little more power, and with it being fuel injected, it's very comparable to that 1100. The nice thing about this bike is it's fuel injected and very, very smooth. Still comfortable. It's just as comfortable as, you know, like that 1100, but it does feel smoother as far as the throttle goes, just because it has that fuel injection. So everything is instant. It's got good torque, good throttle response. You know, the throttle pull isn't quite as hard because you're not lifting a spring and a carburetor. And this bike feels every bit as light as that 1100 does. So even though it's a smaller engine, as far as power goes, it feels very similar. So here's an aggressive pull. See how fast the 950 will speed up. So as you can see, we're doing about 75 miles an hour now, and this bike cruises along at 75 just fine. It's really not too buzzy in the handlebars and very comfortable to ride at freeway speed. So a nice thing about these newer bikes is you don't have a choke. So when you get it on it can be as cold as it wants to outside. You can just get on, start it, and go, versus having to choke it and let it warm up, you know, and all those different things that you typically have to do with a carbureted bike. You don't really have to worry about that with a fuel injected bike. So as you can see, this seating position is a lot bigger than that 650. So even though this bike was kind of built to take over the 650, it's actually a little bit bigger. All right, that was the VStar 950. Now I'll see you guys on the 1300. Yeah. Now we're on the big dog 1300. Let's go for a ride. So now we're on the big dog, the big 1300. This bike is a bike for an intermediate to experienced rider. It is very comfortable, it's very quick. I mean, this thing goes almost 50 miles an hour in first gear. It's very, very fast for a cruiser bike. It is just really, really powerful and enjoyable to ride. It's very comfortable. It's still fairly flickable. You can still lean it around and move a lot if you would like to. So this bike is a little bit on the heavier side, but it's still not too bad. A beginner could still get on this and learn, but Really, that VStar 950 is really a better motorcycle for a beginner. It says 1300 on the engine, but it's more like a 1600 Kawasaki because it has just so much RPM to make up for all that horsepower. This is a bike you ride on when you just want to go. What in the traffic? What in the traffic? Come on, I want to go! So I'll let the camera get up there a little bit, and then I'll come flying up on it, and you can really see how this bike has so much power.
Hello there.
So people talk about that their sport bike will hit every speed limit in first gear. Well, this bike will hit every speed limit in second gear. So if that tells you anything about how quick it is, this is a bike that you can jump on and you could tour across the country very comfortably. Hit every speed limit, but not above the speed limit. We don't do that around here. And if you don't think I'm serious about that every speed limit in second gear, I'll show you. Right now we're in fifth. That's fourth. That's third. That's second. And I can still accelerate. So we're not even close to redline on this bike. In second gear, going 70 miles an hour, it'll still push faster. So now we're going to do the flickable test on the 1300. 45 miles an hour, in and out of the stripes. Still very doable. I can feel it is heavier than the 1100 and the 950, but still doable, still a pretty flickable bike. So as you can see, very comfortable bike, very smooth. By far, my favorite one. That was the 1300. We'll see you back at the shop.
All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. So the reason you would go for the VStar 650 is because it's a little smaller and easier to handle. So if you're just learning and you're short, it might be really good. The 1100 is really comparable to the 950. If you're looking at either one, this is fuel injected. It's a little newer, a little smoother. But if you like simple, easy to run, easy to fix, easy to work on, this is also shaft driven compared to belt. That's gonna be less maintenance as far as drivetrain. And the carburetor, as long as you know how to take care of it, I mean, it'll run for forever. The 950 is a really comfortable bike, handle freeway speeds and everything, a little lighter than the 1300. So if you want something a little newer and fuel injected, you know, a little smoother, that is a fantastic starter bike. Also, I couldn't go super fast on this one because the belt's having issues. I haven't torn into it yet to figure out what is. There's a video coming out soon. I'm gonna tear into it and figure out what's going on with it. And then my personal favorite, the VStar 1300. I like how fast and smooth and comfortable it is. I like how it feels. I like that it can go really fast. I like that it's comfortable and quiet. So if I was gonna pick one of these, it'd be the VStar 1300. If I was just starting out, I'd pick the VStar 950. That wraps it up for today, and thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Motorcycles are awesome. All right, now we're on the big dog 1300. Keep saying shop, there's no shop.
Mr. GoPro.